Then जोडी तू आवडते का पटकन आधी? म्हणजे मग लेक्चर संपलं की मी पण पटकन आवडतो. आवडते का?
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. So this is the discussion between Mother Devahuti and Kapila Muni, and Devahuti is further inquiring, and this is the answer series from Kapila Muni. So we are at text 45. We are seeing the evolution of the tanmatras, how one tanmatra, sparsha, rupa, gandha, rasa, shabda, how they are coming one from another. And yesterday we have seen how the gandha takes place. And now we are going to see now different types of gandha. Text 45. Karambapoti saurabhya शान्तोग्लाम्नादिवि पृथक् द्रव्याव अवयवै वैषम्यात् गन्धः एको विभिद्यते. Translation.
Odor, although one becomes many as mixed, offensive, fragrant, mild, strong, acidic, and so on, according to the proportions of associated substances. Purport. Mixed smell is sometimes perceived in foodstuffs prepared from various ingredients such as vegetables mixed with different kinds of spices and asafoetida. Bad odors are perceived in filthy places. Good smells are perceived from camphor, menthol, and similar other products. Pungent smells are perceived from garlic and onions, and acidic smells are perceived from turmeric and similar sour substances. The original aroma is the odor emanating from the earth, and when it is mixed with different substances, this odor appears in different ways. Hare Krishna.
So now these are the further characteristics and types of gandha. Odor, although one, appears many based on different proportions and different associating substances. Prabhupada says in the purport, the mixed smell comes from the different ingredients, and there are different kinds of smells like offensive, fragrant, mild, strong, acidic, so on and so forth. And different substances will contribute to different types of smell. Original aroma of the odor emanating from the earth is coming from the earth And when it is mixed with different substances, this odor appears in different ways, right? So the aroma from the earth is also called as a mrittika gandha. Okay, mrittika means mitti, and gandha means, the odor. So what happens is that generally the first rain, you will have this very, very amazing odor which is coming when the rain touches the ground, and that is the original odor. And then based on the different substances, different odors will be generated. Text 46. Bhavanam brahmanam sthanam dharanam sadhisheshanam sarvasattva gunodhyeta prithvi vritti lakshanam.
The characteristics of the functions of earth can be perceived by modeling forms of the Supreme Brahman, by constructing places of residence, by preparing pots to contain water, etc. In other words, the earth is the place of sustenance for all elements. Purport. Different elements such as sound, sky, air, fire, and water can be perceived in the earth. Another feature of the earth especially mentioned here is that earth can manifest different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By this statement of Kapila's, it is confirmed that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Brahman, has innumerable forms, which are described in the scriptures. By manipulation of earth and its products, such as stone, wood, and jewels, these forms of the Supreme Lord can be present before our eyes. When a form of Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu is manifested by presentation of a statue made of earth, it is not imaginary. The earth gives shape to the Lord's forms as described in the scriptures. In the Brahma Samhita, there is description of Lord Krishna's Krishna's lands, the variegatedness of the spiritual abode, and the forms of the Lord playing a flute with his spiritual body. All these forms are described in the scriptures, and when they are thus presented, they become worshipable. They are not imaginary, as the Mayavada philosophy says. Sometimes the word bhavana is misinterpreted as imagination, but bhavana does not mean imagination. It means giving actual shape to the description of the Vedic literature, to the description of Vedic literature. Earth is the ultimate transformation of all living entities and their respective modes of material nature.
Yeah. So now the next is, we are seeing the characteristics of the functions of earth can be perceived as modeling the forms of the Supreme Brahman. Bhavanam, so Bhavanam is the Bhavanam Brahmana, so modeling the forms of the Supreme Brahman. Sthanam, by constructing places, and Dharanam, look at Dharanam. Dharanam is the containing substances. Sad Visheshanam, distinguishing the open spaces. Sarva Sattva Gunodhyeta. So Prabhupada writes here, earth is the place of sustenance for all the elements. So the different elements one can see, such as sound, sky, air, fire, and water, they are perceived within earth. And as the elements are going to become grosser and grosser, subtler and subtler, one perception will go away. Right? So further, Srila Prabhupada says, earth is specifically important because earth can manifest different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Which are these forms? These are the deity forms. Right? Paschanti te me ruchirani basanta. So this is what is, the Lord is talking about. So these are the deity forms of the Lord. They can be manifested from earth or different transformations of earth, just like stone, wood, jewel, paint, so on and so forth. Right. So the Lord has innumerable forms. Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyamena Tishtham Avatarohi Asankhyanam. In fact, the forms that are present in front of us, we are just shown a trailer of the movie. But the forms of the Lord, Anadi Anantarupam. Anantarupam means infinite forms. Right? This we have discussed in great details previously. That when the Lord appears, it is not that by the imagination of Hiranyakashipu, I don't want to be killed like this, neither a man nor an animal, and then the Narasimha form. No, Narasimha form eternally exists. Matsya, Varaha, Kurma, Rama eternally exist. And like this, there are billions and billions of forms. Right? Recently, I was hearing one very beautiful statement. They say that what we know is 1%. What we don't know, somebody will say is 99%. No, not like that. What we don't know is 4%. Like I know certain things, and I know that I don't know certain things. And what we don't know that we don't know is 95%. So it is always better to be humble in one's life. So the forms of the Lord are unimaginable, billions of forms. And these forms, some of them, they are explained in the scriptures. Srila Prabhupada says, so these forms are not imaginary. They are explained in the scriptures and they are manifested through different manifestations of the earth, and then they become worshipable. Just like today, we have Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. So this is the form of the Lord. And the form of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, they are very detailed mentioned in scriptures. Right? It is not some imaginary manifestation, some speculation of artist that we typically will see in the Ganapati festival, or in or in Durga festival kind of a thing. Or you can see some some Swami is portrayed in some Durga Mata, Durga's. I mean, it just becomes a joke in that way. So these are not that kind of forms. Okay, the forms of the Lord, even the form of Ganapati also is very specifically mentioned. So in the Ganapati Atharva Shirsha and other places. So forms are specifically mentioned, and when they are given manifestation through the earthly substances like stone, paint, jewel, so on and so forth, then they become worshipable. And Srila Prabhupada then quotes, Venum Kwanantam. What is the form of the Lord? We are worshipping Krishna, but what is the form of Krishna? Very beautifully explained. Venum Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayataaksham. Barhavatansam. Barhavatam means this is the morapankha. That is the peacock feather on the head. Barhavatansam Asitambuda Sundarangam. Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. So these forms of the Lord, they are not imagination. Prabhupada says sometimes people translate the word bhavana as imagination. Bhavana means अपनी अपनी भावना, जिसको जो लगे अच्छा लगे वो कर लो. No, not like that. It is not such stupid naivety, stupidity that मुझे ये अच्छा लगा तो ये form, ये अच्छा लगा तो ये form. Not like that. Bhavana is very, very specific. It is not imagination, but these are the actual description of the Lord in the Vedic scriptures. Finally, Srila Prabhupada concludes with earth. Earth is the ultimate transformation of all living entities, right? So, and the respective modes of material nature. So ultimately, this is, the living entities will be turned into either ash, or they will be, earth or something like that upon death. And then that is the resting place of the material nature, and the living entity, Jiva, continues the further progress, further journey according to the modes of material nature that he has acquired. Text 47. Nabho guna visheshortho yasya tat shrotramuchyate vayor guna visheshortho yasya tat sparshanam viduhu. Translation.
The sense whose object of perception is sound is called the auditory sense, and that whose object of perception is touch is called the tactile sense. Purport: sound is one of the qualifications of the sky and is the subject matter of hearing. Similarly, touch is the qualification of the air and the subject of the touch sensation. Hare Krishna.
So what is to be perceived through what is very important. Here, the sense whose object of perception is sound, then it is to be heard. And then something which is object of perception is to be touched. And this is how you can, completely defeat that very stupid question. Can you show me God? No, sir. Why? because you have to see God, because God is the, he is the most subtlest. He's spiritual, not even subtlest. He's spiritual beyond subtle matter. So even the subtle matter sound has to be heard, what to speak of God. So God at best begins with hearing, that is Shravanam. So there is one specific sense to, based on the characteristics of the object, one has to utilize a particular sense. So sound is one qualification of the sky, and therefore it is to be heard. Touch is qualification of air, and therefore it has the touch or the tactile sensation or the touch. Text 48. Tejo guna visheshortho yasya tat chakshuruchyate ambho guna visheshortho yasya tadrasanam viduhu bhumer guna visheshortho yasya cha grana uchyate. Translation.
The sense whose object of perception is form, the distinctive characteristic of fire is the sense of sight. The sense of whose object of perception is taste, the distinctive characteristic of water is known as the sense of taste. Finally, the sense whose object of perception is odor, the distinctive characteristic of earth is called sense of smell.
So similarly for all other, the sense whose object of perception is form, the distinctive characteristics is fire, teja, and in the sense of sight. So form has to be seen through the eyes. The sense whose object of perception is taste, the distinctive characteristics is water, and is to be tested through rasana, that is one's tongue. And Prabhupada writes in the previous purport, that's why the tongue is always full with the saliva, which is water, because it is taste. Taste comes from water, and water means saliva, and saliva means water. Finally, the sense object whose perception is odor, and that is earth, granam, and the sense of the smell. Text 49. Parasya drishyate dharmo hyaparasmin samanvayat ato vishesho bhavanam bhuma bevopalakshate. Translation.
Since the cause exists in its effect as well, the characteristics of the former are observed in the latter. That is why the peculiarities of all the elements exist in the earth alone. Purport. Sound is the cause of the sky. Sky is the cause of the air. Air is the cause of the fire. Fire is the cause of the water. And water is the cause of the earth. In the sky, there is only sound. In the air, there are sound and touch. In the fire, there are sound, touch, and form. In water, there are sound, touch, form, and taste. And in the earth, there are sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Therefore, earth is the reservoir of all the qualities of the other elements. Earth is the sum total of all other elements. The earth has all 5 qualities of the elements. Water has 4 qualities, fire has 3, air has 2, and the sky has only 1 quality, sound.
Yeah, so this is the summary of all these 5 elements. Since the cause exists in its effect as well, very deep statements these are. Since the cause exists in the effect as well, the characteristics of the former are observed in the latter. Right. This is why the peculiarities of all the elements exist in earth alone. Bhuman evava upalakshate. All these qualities are observed in earth. Now, purport is very beautiful. Sound is the cause of the sky, right? So, sky is the cause of the air. Air is the cause of fire. Fire is the cause of water. And water is the cause of earth. Now, what is the statement? Since the cause exists in its effect, cause will exist in the effect. Now, the quality of the sound will exist in sky. Qualities of sound and sky will exist in air. Quality of sound, sky, and air will exist in fire. And quality of sound, sky, air, and fire will exist in water. And then quality of sound, sky, air, fire, water will exist in earth ultimately. And this is why the sky has only sound, air has Sky has only sound, right? Come. Air has sound and touch. You can feel the air. Sparsha, right? You can feel the air. Then there is fire. Fire, you have the cracking sound of the fire. Then there is, you can you can touch the fire and get burnt or whatever it is, but you can touch the fire and you can see the form of the fire also. Therefore it is rupa is there, right? So when you are doing yagya, many times you will see some beautiful forms of the yogic fire. And sometimes people say, I could see Krishna's form also in the yogic fire, and so on and so forth. And there are different types of yagyas, and the devatas or even the Supreme Lord, they do their prakat at times during these yagyas. Okay, so there is rupa. Then in the water there is sound. You put on the tab and you will see the water sound of the water. There is touch, you can touch the water. There is form of the water. Okay, it's a lucid form. And then there is a taste to the water. So water is for rasa, right? So this is the rasa, and all rasa elements will have all these. And finally, then there is earth. Earth is gandha, right? So there is sound, there is touch, there is form, there is taste, and there is smell. And this is how the earth is the reservoir of all the qualities of all other substances, and therefore earth is called as dharana. Dharana means it takes on all the qualities of all the substances. And therefore the earth is sum total of all other elements, right? Earth has 5 qualities, water has 4, fire has 3, air has 2, sky has only 1 quality, and that is sound. Text 50. Etan asamhatya yada mahadadini saptavai kala karma gunopeto jagadadir upavishat. Translation.
When all these elements were unmixed, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin of creation, along with time, work, and qualities of the modes of material nature, entered into the universe with the total material energy in 7 divisions. Purport. After stating the generation of the cause, Kapil Deva speaks about the generation of the effects. At that time, when the cause were unmixed, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his feature of Garbhodakshay Vishnu, entered within each universe. Accompanying him were all the 7 primary elements, the 5 material elements, the total energy, Mahat Tattva, and the false ego. The entrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead involves his entering even the atoms of the material world. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 5.35. Sorry, Prabhuji, can you?
Andantarastha paramanu chayantarastha.
Thank you. He is not only within the universe, but within the atoms as well. Within the atoms also. He is within the heart of every living entity. Garbhodakshay Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, entered into everything. Hare Krishna.
When all these elements thus were unmixed, the Lord enters. And the Lord enters with time, work, and the qualities of the modes of material nature, along with 7 divisions. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that after stating the generation of the causes, Kapila Muni now speaks about the generation of the effects, right? So originally all elements were unmixed, and then enters the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In which form? His specific feature of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And he enters, and when the Lord enters, he just enters everywhere, right? He enters Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastham. He enters within the universe, enters within the within the all the unmixed elements, enters within the atoms of everything, enters within the heart of the living entity, and he just enters within everything, right? And Prabhupada says he's within the heart of all living entities also. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters into everything. This is how the Lord enters, right? Very, very familiar that when we become devotee, Lord enters in our life. And when Lord enters in our life, Lord enters into everything. Where thought of becoming devotee, we never thought of, we thought it's meditation. Just 10 minutes we'll do Hare Krishna, and no, but Lord enters everything. Lord enters into your desires, into your food becomes prasad, association, the friends becomes association, your hearing becomes Krishna Katha. Lord enters into everything. This is the very beautiful nature of the Lord, and which we can verify from one's own life. Lord enters into everything. So this is thou, the Supreme Personality has entered. Very simple. Just like, one can say that kitchen, all the elements are there and spices are there. And when the Grihini enters into the kitchen, the whole thing starts sizzling, and there will be different smells and different preparations and different prasada bhoga items will be made, offered to the Lord. So it is something similar to that. Text 51. ततस्तेरानु विदेभ्यो युक्तेभ्योऽण्ड अचेतनम् उत्थितं पुरुषो यस्मात् उत्तिष्ठस्दसौ विराटः. Translation.
From the seven principles arose into activity and united by the presence of the Lord, an unintelligent egg arose, from which appeared the celebrated cosmic being. Purport. In sensual life, the combination of matter from the parents, which involves emulsification and secretion, creates the situation whereby a soul is received within matter, and the combination of matter gradually develops into a complete body. The same principle exists in the universal creation. The ingredients are present, but only when the Lord enters into the material elements is matter actually agitated. That is the cause of creation. We can see this in our ordinary experience. Although we may have clay, water, and fire, the elements take the shape of a brick only when we labor to combine them. Without the living energy, there is no possibility that matter can take shape. Similarly, this material world does not develop unless agitated by the Supreme Lord as the Virat Purusha. Yasmad Udatishtat Asau Virat. By his agitation, space was created and the universal form of the Lord also manifested therein.
Yeah. From these seven principles, aroused into activity and united in the presence of the Supreme Lord. And this is how an unintelligent egg arose, and this egg will be explained further, Brahmanda, and this Brahmanda. Okay, so this will be the very next verse is going to explain this. And from which appeared the celebrated cosmic being, that is Virata. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, just like in the conceptual stage of living entity, there is a secretion and the combination. Similar, the same principle exists in the universal creation. So this is the fractal nature of the universe, right from atom to Brahmanda. Things are so systematic, and things are so so much in the pattern, that what pattern we'll see for the birth of a child, the same pattern we will see the birth of the Brahmanda also, or the creation, right? The same principle exists in the universal creation. Ingredients are present, and then when the bija, when the living entity enters, and in this case, the living entity is the Virata, or here the living entity is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he enters, the whole thing starts sizzling and taking shape. The shape will come only by the interference of the living entity. Prabhupada says there may be clay, there may be water, but the brick will not be formed unless the brick man is there and who is giving the shape to the brick. Right. Ingredients are there, but ingredients are not enough. Right. So this is very important. Yasmat uttishta tatau virata. by his agitation, by Virata, sa aikshataha, when he enters, janmadiyasya yataha, and the space was created, and the universal form of the Lord also manifests there within, who is called as Virata. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Yeah.
Gaura
Yeah.
Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you,
Yeah.
Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji,
Thank you,
Prabhupada,
everyone.
thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna.
thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Hare
Yeah,
Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Job come, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.